Good morning. It's Kate. I hope you are ready for a long one. This one was not something that I decided to do quickly. Um, this is a single family home, although it is completely colossal, massive, large. I was inspired by another floor plan that I found on Pinterest. It's always interesting to work from a real house floor plan in The Sims because The Sims is so distorted and you don't really realize how distorted the scale of things are in The Sims until you try to build something that is from the real world. I feel like I'm in the Barbie movie. There's the Barbie world and the real world. There's the Sims world. But this was quite fun. I had a little kick of I went on a little kick of building these really large American style homes that people with money but not really a lot of style build. So, and I say that harshly. I know it sounds harsh, and I mean it harsh. I am, in the architecture career, and so I'm very critical of styles and things. But I got on this kick of just doing like the basic American home for a few of my builds. So you'll be seeing a few of them, and you've already seen some of them on my YouTube channel. And that's not to say that they're ugly. It's just that they're so common in the United States. It seems like this is the style that once you reach like a level of success in your career and you have enough money to build a big house, people seem to pick out a floor plan really similar and an elevation really similar to this one all the time. You see them all over the US. Especially they'll be like a little bit outside of the city off of like a 2-lane highway, and they've bought themselves a few acres of land and they've built this massive house that is not ugly. It's just so common. And there's just nothing unique about it. It's beautiful. I think that this could be probably a challenge to play with something like this in the game because it is so large. However, I tend to, I do like to go all out with large builds. I usually tend to do it with commercial builds, though, where I make them really large, where I might have like an entire family of Sims or a group of Sims at a place at the same time. But when I'm playing with just my family in the house, which I think most of the time that's probably what you're doing is you're probably in the home with your family. Even if it's on like a retail lot that you've decided to build an apartment on, you're probably there 90% of your gameplay. And then the other 10%, you might take them to a restaurant or to the beach or, to a venue for something. This is so large that if I have a family in here, especially if I fill up all of the bedrooms, because there's quite a few bedrooms here, if I fill up all of the bedrooms, I do feel that this is too big to play in for my like comfort or for my gameplay comfort, because you'll lose your Sims. I'm thinking, oh, well, we need to go check on, the infant and make sure that they have all of their needs made, and of course you can click on their little icon, like their little thumbnail face, and it'll take you directly to them. But I don't know, for my own comfort level in gameplay, I prefer to be able to see all of my Sims at one time. And if I don't see all of my Sims at one time on the screen, I will forget about them. And so I'll have like a kid or like a toddler or somebody who's like a very needy Sim. Maybe it's a dog, I don't know. But if they're not on the screen and I'm really into what these other two Sims are doing, I will completely forget about them on a large lot or on a large build. So it is tough to play on a large lot. I tend to make parks or commercial builds out of the bigger lots and then create residential on the smaller lots. But again, this was inspired by that large house that you tend to see just outside of the city, that, obviously somebody with a good amount of money spent, time and money here to just create this opulent place to live for their family. But it's massive. It is fun though. And I was inspired because the floor plan looked pretty intricate. And it's another one of those things with scale is you don't actually realize just how large it is until you decide to build it. And sometimes maybe that's true just in The Sims, because I can build some floor plans, in my architecture software. It doesn't look as colossal as this. It looks like, okay, well, that's just a large family home. But this looks like a colossal family home. This is the same scale that I would probably make a castle or a mansion in The Sims. And it's really not either of those things. It's just a big family home. So I went through, did all of the bathrooms very similarly. That's the other thing about these super large builds is it gets really repetitive, or I'm not inspired to do, 4 or 5 different styles in a bathroom. I just want to get it done. So I'll pick a style for one bathroom and then I'll copy and paste all of those items and wallpapers and floorings into all of the other bathrooms in the space. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that that's probably true. Again, if we're thinking about gameplay, you're probably not spending a ton of time in the bathroom anyways. But I do enjoy when I build something smaller, I really get into detailing everything and putting a bunch of clutter in the bathroom. Something like this, there is not a lot of clutter, and there's 2 reasons for that. The first one being what I'm already talking about, which is I just cannot spend that much time on a build. I will not finish it, and I will move on and go start something else if I have to spend too much time on a specific build. And the other thing is your gameplay can get really laggy if you put too many items on a lot. And this definitely has a lot of items on this lot, and it's not cluttered. It's just a huge build with lots of rooms and lots of things. So really love the way that office in the front turned out. If I were ever to build my own house, I would really like to have an office in the front. I work out of my home. I run my business out of my home. And it would be great to have a really dedicated office space close to the front door, specifically because if I wanted to have clients come over, they don't have to walk through my messy house to get to my office and we can talk about work. They just have to go through the front door and have quick access to my office. And I just have to keep that front part of my house clean. And that's it. So I think that's kind of a dreamy scenario that maybe someday my business will take off and we'll have enough money to do something like that, and that would be really fun. That said, I don't want to do this style of home. I think this is the very basic, common style of home, but there's also a lot of trendy things happening out there. I think my age group, which I'm in my 30s at this point, and it seems like a lot of people are trying to go actually do a few more modern or just very stylized things with their home or their clothing, and people who are just expressing themselves a lot more easily than they were, say, 20 years ago, and that's a really good thing. So you are starting to see some stylish homes, but there are still, it does not compare to just how many of these basic large American homes there are all over the place. And so we would probably go for the more stylized look. And again, this is just a huge dream that we have as a family. My husband and I and our 2 kids we would love to get a house, build a house someday that looks like this, or looks like what I'm imagining in my head, not what's in front of you on the screen. But the office in the front would be such a dream for me to have in a home. And I've looked at houses on Zillow. Sometimes they put sometimes on Zillow they'll put the floor plan, and I love when they do that on Zillow. because we're genuinely shopping, but we don't have like a down payment ready to make a big purchase. I feel like our credit score is good, and I feel like we could make the monthly payments, but it's that down payment that we want to have initially that, it's just hard to save up. It's just, times are hard. I say that with a little bit of a smirk, but times really are hard. I say that because it just sounds like an old person saying that, and maybe I am, but anyways, maybe someday we'll get our down payment together, and we'll either put a down payment on a construction loan and buy something, or we'll, purchase a home that's already out there waiting for us right now and raise our kids in it, because our kids are still so young right now. This is definitely what I imagine these people who would build this type of home would sound exactly like me. Like, I would think they are probably making sure that they have a good school system and kind of a smaller town, but it still has like a Target in it, like just on the outskirts of a bigger city. I feel like this is kind of like the ideal thing that most people are looking for in, when they're trying to build their dream home or buy their dream home. And back to Zillow, when I was talking about some of them have the floor plans, there are quite a few houses that either have like a guest bedroom right up front or an office right up front. So I'm not the only one who finds that convenient, for sure. That's really cool. So it is a possibility, maybe in the future. Again, got to save up, but and owning a home is a huge responsibility too. I mean, it sounds so dreamy, and it is so dreamy until you've got like all this maintenance to take care of, and if something breaks, it's on you to fix. You don't have a landlord to call, and that all that stuff is pretty tough. However, it is still the American dream. I put a little kind of a pool house in the backyard, which I really liked for either multi-generational living or a guest house. If you want to use the feature that we got from Growing Together, where you can have people over, you could assign this space to them. And it really has its own little kitchenette and bathroom. So you really could operate it. Or if you want to use the features from For Rent, you could rent it out. So you could make this whole lot be a residential rental where you live in the main house, or you can live in the small house and rent out this massive house. I bet you could get so much money renting out a house this big. I don't know. I haven't thought about that. Maybe so. So I just did the math, not in my head. Don't be impressed. I pulled out a calculator, but all of the videos that I've had to compile together, because I didn't build this all in one sitting, it was 7.2 hours of building, which is a long time in my opinion. And I know there are so many people that really pour their days and nights into doing this, and they will spend 15, 20 hours on a build, and it shows. Like, you can really tell the difference in, like, for example, this build and something that you see like Jessica Pye do or Kate Emerald. I mean, gosh, those are absolutely exquisite builds. I don't know how long it takes Kate to build, but Jessica Pye usually tells how long in her videos. She's usually like, oh yeah, this one took me 12 hours and I had to try to get it down. But her builds showcase the fact that she spent that much time on them. They are incredibly detailed. But 7.2 hours is a long time for me. I try not to spend that much time on a build. And, to be honest, I don't really like to spend that much time on a build. And I do think that this build came out nicely. It does have a good amount of detail, but it's still not as satisfying to me as doing something small with just lots of little bit of clutter on every countertop and every room. Like, some rooms, there's this room towards the front of the house, but it's near to the side that I made the laundry room, the water heater room, and it's just kind of like a storage room. It's almost like a garage, but we don't have garages in The Sims. I was able to really clutter that up. I thought that looked very realistic, and I was also able to put in like a library space. So there's this house is so big. It not only does it have a bunch of bedrooms and bathrooms, but it also has its own office. It has its own library, and then it's got that big laundry room space that I was talking about that's kind of like serves as a garage. Then it's got two living rooms. Like there's kind of like the formal living room, and then there's like the lounge den type space in the back that is more where the family hangs out. And I also put a game table in there. It's so large. I think there's also like just a fitness room, but it's not. I think it did more of like a yoga wellness vibe in there, not really, not exactly, treadmills and lifting weights and stuff. It's a little bit more on the wellness level. But it's still, I mean, that's another room in the space. And it was really because by the time I did the floor plan, I had so many rooms that I needed to fill up. And I was just like, I don't want to do another bedroom. That said, the bedrooms that are in here are actually pretty cute. Did some really nice master primary suite. So that's on the angled portion of the build where there's this huge angled, gabled porch off of the side. That's where that primary suite is. And so the bed faces out to that balcony. And then there's also like there's a huge private ensuite bathroom, as well as kind of a nook for closet space, almost like a walk-in closet, but it's not doored off. It's just in the same room as the bedroom. It's just kind of got a divider. It's very decorative and pretty. I really like it. I hope you do too. And then, so like I put in a good amount of detail in some areas, and then others it just fell short. But I also like have a bit of guilt. I wonder if y'all can relate to this, having a bit of guilt where I do go all in on a build and then it's hours into it and I'm just tired of it, but I feel like I have to finish, and I feel like I have to put in the same amount of care in what I have left to do, or else I have failed somehow. That's probably a really dramatic and silly thing to think, but I do think that. And then there was also the robotics, or kind of like it's not just robotics, but I did put a robotics station. There's another room that's just kind of a task station. I think I either put a fizzer or a candle maker station in there, as well as the robotics station. And that room, I mean, again, that's just like a whole another large room where I was just like, I cannot bring myself to build another bedroom. I'm so bored of it. So, I ended up putting a lot of debug in there, which was really nice. So this was an area where I did clutter it up a bit. Again, I had to pick and choose. Like I was like, yeah, I'll make this room really kind of look like people are using it to do these robotics or juice fizzing or whatever. Like they're actually making a mess in here. And then, so again, that was just another large room. I quite enjoyed. I know angled walls in The Sims are controversial, and they're controversial for good reason. They are difficult to work with. But this one little angled portion was part of the floor plan that I had on Pinterest, so I built it in The Sims 2, in The Sims as well, not The Sims 2. And I think that it actually made for a nice division of spaces within the primary suite. I was able to build like this nook off to the side that's kind of your walk-in wardrobe. And I was able to divide off where the bed is, and the bed faces that balcony space, and there's something really romantic and peaceful about that. And then there's a huge ensuite bathroom too, which again, the bathroom is not exciting. I did the same style in all of the bathrooms, just a copy paste of wallpapers and items, plumbing fixtures, etc. But I was quite happy with the way. I don't know, this looks pretty peaceful and not as chaotic as your typical angled build in The Sims would go. So I was happy with that. It's kind of isolated to that, and then on the bottom floor, it's that den space with the family, like kind of the family den with game tables and just kind of a good hangout space. Not the formal, but the informal living room space. Let's see. I think I also, Oh, right. Okay, so I did like two different versions of a teenage room. And the teenage rooms, one of them is very colorful and bright and vibrant and kind of has like the warm color scheme, so pinks and oranges. And then I did another moody one, which is kind of dark blue. And both of these teenagers, in my opinion, have very decked out bedrooms. Like if you were to go over to your friend's house in high school and this was their room, you would instantly know, like, wow, these people have money and their parents let them get whatever they want. It's kind of the vibes that I was going for in those. And then there's also a small, like more of a nursery or room for small children that's also quite cute and very colorful and a little bit more earthy. So I think it's a little bit more green. But lots of fun, lots of bright colors. Those are always the fun ones to do, but then you can only do so many of them. I got really fatigued in this build doing all of the bedrooms. And the hallways are also super boring because I just did not have the bandwidth to keep putting detail or trying to design it. I was over it. I was really over it. So this is a very boring hallway layout. It's just white walls. There are some nice little wood details here and there in like columns and spandrels, but for the most part, there are very boring hallways here. So maybe it's a good opportunity for your Sims to create a bunch of art and you put that on the walls. And then the kind of the final thing that I was really interested in is I wanted the whole lot to be well thought out and well landscaped. And so there's a garden area, there's a pool area, and then that pool house has its own kind of fenced in yard area. And I just wanted everything to feel like everything has its place and nothing was too random or an afterthought. So lots of lush greenery everywhere around the place. Again, wanted it to look very deliberate, and like like it wasn't this hodgepodge of things, but that, yes, there is a vegetable garden and it's very strategically placed right off of the kitchen, or right off of that kind of utility room that is attached to the kitchen. And, you can bring your fresh vegetables in and wash them there and then bring them in to store into your kitchen. Then I also have that pool house is like off in the corner where it's far away, where if you do have somebody staying there or living in there, it's private enough, but maybe they can still come over and have access to the pool or something. And then the pool itself is off of the formal living room, which maybe that's not the best place for it to be. I'm okay with it. If I do say so myself, I will allow it. Anyways, I am getting out of breath. I hate having to talk this long, and I will probably just try to make my videos more of the 10 to 15 minutes that I typically do, because not only is this way too much talking for me, it's allergy season, and I just quite frankly feel out of breath trying to narrate this thing. And I'm sure you can probably hear that too. I'm going to try not to think about it too much when I edit how I sound, but really happy with this. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I think this is about it. Just popping a few more things in the exterior, just found some little details. This is probably when I was feeling the urge to fill up all of the space and not let anything look unfinished or like an afterthought. It was that guilt kind of coming in and making me feel like I needed to get everything just right. So there's a telescope outside. There's a not Scratchy, Patchy. I wanted to call Patchy Scratchy. The scarecrow is out there. There's, I even put like a little tent, like maybe the kids want to go camping, but not in an unsafe place away from their parents. So they're just going to do it in the backyard, which is fun to do sometimes. I probably should do that with my kids soon. Do a little camping trip in the backyard. And anyways, I think this is wrapping up, and yeah, just getting a few more details in the garden area. Probably have about a minute left of building, and then we'll go into screenshots. And watching this back, I'm actually quite impressed with how much detail I did put on the outside. I don't remember doing all of this, so good for me. I guess I stuck with it, and I'm really happy with the way that this is landscaped and there's so much detail outside. I'm really glad that I didn't just leave it naked or get tired of it and call it quits. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with myself on this one. But again, probably just going to go back to the smaller builds that I'm used to doing. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening to this long one. And I hope that you all are doing well and using The Sims to express your own creativity or your own individuality. That's really what the spirit of the game is. And thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.